Well, it's story time with Uncle Bucky. I am looking forward to telling this story, Animal Kingdom Come, one of my books, soon. It's not coming up right away because I've got one or two others ahead of it, but I'm looking forward to it, to telling this story. But right now, what I'm going to do very briefly is just read the introduction. So this is a good way to kind of get started before the story gets started. All right, the first is kind of an introduction to the book. There have been countless viral pandemics wiping out species populations here on Earth since the beginning of when prehistoric life first began rising in the ooze, at times even in complete extinction-level events. In this thriller action novel, it's happening again today, engaging man against beast. This is a horrendous yet hopeful tale of a family's harsh journey from Key West, Florida, northward to Louisville, Kentucky, and then further beyond to literal mountains of gold bricks in a military fortress, while nature all around them has gone the same way that it has worldwide, completely awry, vicious and deadly, caused by a scientifically phenomenal and mysterious microscopic entity that has dwelled here on Earth long before the existence of viral illnesses that would someday evolve from it and emerge once released from beneath the deepest Arctic permafrosts due to global warming caused by man. Just off the coast of Big Sur, California, a humpback whale intentionally sinks a whale-watching boat, viciously killing everyone on board. Months later, across the globe, lowland mountain gorillas decimate a research facility near the Bwindi Impenetrable Forest in Uganda, leaving no one alive. Then within days, in Raleigh, North Carolina, two lifelong friends find themselves in the battle of their lives as white-tailed deer invade the city from a nearby reserve, goring a number of children to death on a community playground. Survivors from these particular events move toward better safety in the United States military fortresses, all joining together into the trek of our lead characters. William Buzz Aldrin, his daughter Desiree, his dog Max, and a group of friends who must battle their way from their home in Key West to rescue and reunite with his missing son Chase up in Louisville, while all around the world the animal kingdom is violently reclaiming planet Earth for their own. Household pets, barnyard animals, and feral animals everywhere in the wild, creating a war that becomes an extinction-level event for mankind unless they can discover a cure and perhaps a vaccine. This story is both thrilling and fierce, but sad but humorous at times, heartfelt and hopeful, insightful, and even quite educational. Mankind gets a glimpse of the same cruel and abusive treatment he has inflicted upon the animal kingdom since the beginning of his brief time here on Earth. Animals may get a justifiable and righteous revenge on their recently evolved brutal masters. All right, Animal Kingdom Come, The Extinction Virus, with apologies to and reverence for Alfred Hitchcock. But I think there should have been more than just birds. It's dedicated to Destiny Blue Montgomery and Chauncey Brooke Allen Montgomery, a daughter and a son of mine. All right, there's one little quote here from the Bible. The book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 25. And God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. Verse 26. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. All right, here's the introduction. It's pretty short, and that'll be it. Introduction. Excerpts from Isaac A. Chandra's essay, Why Animals Attack, an Increasing Phenomenon, by A. Milner, University of Oxford, 2019. Great Britain, Australia, India, and Mongolia are not the only countries experiencing such abnormal animal behavior. The number of reported attacks is also increasing in North America, such as in Nyack, an upscale hamlet north of New York City, just across the Hudson River from historic Tarrytown. In this idyllic suburb, dotted with playgrounds and scenic bike trails, life has been upended by mangy intruders that seem to be on a rampage as of late. Coyotes. Officials reported that within 7 days, 3 different young girls playing outside their homes were attacked in separate, isolated incidents. 2 girls survived with mostly minor injuries. One was not as fortunate. The highly unusual attacks have prompted police and helicopter searches and civilian gunfire. In just the past 30 years, experts now know that tens of thousands of coyotes, foxes, raccoons, hawks, and possums have now migrated from the wild into large populated metropolitan areas such as New York, Chicago, Louisville, Detroit, and Los Angeles. Parents were advised not to let their children wander from their eyesight and to keep them indoors with them after dark. Those walking their dogs at night were encouraged to carry flashlights and walking sticks with them for defense. In 2017 alone, swarms of rabid Argentinian vampire bats viciously attacked over 3,000 people, killing more than 30. And that same year, 5,000 wild camels surrounded a town of 350 people in Saudi Arabia, destroying homes and killing a dozen residents within a matter of minutes for reasons that were never explained. A red deer charged from the woods and gored a man as he jogged along a path near a Swiss resort and was shot and killed 2 days later as it attempted to do the same to a police officer. And Komodo dragons encircled and killed a family of 9 who were camping in a public park in Indonesia. Less than a month later, 2 parents were hiking with their 9-year-old son through the Everglades National Park. As their son turned a corner around a well-known trail a few steps ahead of his family, a Florida panther pounced and drug him off the boardwalk and into the brush before they could even react. His remains were found a few days later, half-eaten, lodged in a tree. In southern Manitoba, Canada, ravens attacked a child in a stroller while her mother was putting groceries in her car, sadly blinding her for life. In Bangladesh alone, tigers now attack and kill humans in double figures each year. In Tanzania, lions are now killing over 100 people every year, and not just farmers sleeping in their fields protecting their livestock, as was more common in the last few decades. One lion was said to have killed 50 people in the same village over the span of 10 days. Also that year, grizzly bears in Alaska attacked and killed a record number of hikers, hunters, and campers, as well as record numbers in Montana and parts of Canada. One grizzly bear death was reported in Oregon, where the bears were believed to be gone for over a century. Because of the new cage diving craze in South Africa, divers now plunge into the murky seawater with bucket loads of chum and fish in trails to attract great white sharks. This has caused a rise in shark attacks all around the Cape. Scientists now say that sharks and other fish are associating their food with humans and are now drawn to the shallow water where beachgoers frolic. And in May 2017, an elderly woman was killed by a pack of wild dogs while gardening at her home in rural Tennessee. While her grandson ran to help her, he was attacked and killed by the same pack before neighbors could intervene. Sheriff Edley Cooper said that as many of the dogs as possible were immediately rounded up by his deputies and local animal control. They showed no signs of rabies, abuse, or malnourishment, and yet they were vicious and uncooperative. He said that they had never received complaints about any dogs previous to that attack. As far as we can tell, they were unprovoked, he said to reporters. I've seen a law enforcement officer for 32 years, and this has been the first time I've ever heard about anyone getting killed by feral dogs. We ended up putting them all down. It was rumored and yet remained unconfirmed by the sheriff that a wild coyote and some birds, possibly starlings, also took part in that attack. Within a week, a woman in another part of the county was killed by a complete different pack of dogs one morning as she went out to her mailbox to get her newspaper. She was found nearly covered with crickets and pill bugs. Clearly, something was and is not right. Those are all actual facts. So I used some of that just to sum it up. Okay, that's not really the story. The story isn't just about animal attacks. So there's the introduction to the book. And further down the line, I'll tell it. It's a good story about a family.